Good evening, hockey fans, and welcome to another episode of Snipe, Celly. My name is Dan Bradley. Alongside me tonight, Joel Fernino, the co-host of the
Howdy.
show. Joel, how you doing, my friend?
Well, I think anyone who follows me on Twitter? Did I tweet this? Yeah, I tweeted it.
Oh, you
When
tweet
I
a
when
lot
I
of
said
things.
we are in the double digits game now. No, well, we are. This is
We
episode
are
11, which is
episode
cool.
11.
I should have also said that this is going to be the COVID edition because I have COVID.
Oh boy. Well, did
Yes,
you just got a booster like last week?
So
And
that's the fun thing. I got the booster Thursday, and it hit me like a truck on I-80, and I didn't expect that because the second dose didn't hit me that horrendously hard. So I was like, that's weird. So yesterday I was like, why am I still feeling things? I should probably go get tested. Sure enough.
Yeah, that's about how it goes, but not really symptomatic so far. At least is what you told me earlier.
Yeah, I mean, it was basically just some congestion, a little sinus pressure. That was yesterday. Today it's much better, so I'm going to consider myself severely lucky that it's super minor, and obviously the booster and the vaccines do their job. So
Definitely,
yes,
we hope you stay healthy. We hope everybody watching at home is staying healthy. Yes,
exactly. Go get your boosters or your vaccines, kids, or adults, mostly adults.
Anybody.
Yeah, kids can't really do it. Anyway, yes, it is at least from the Chicago side of Snipe, Celly, it's the COVID edition of Snipe, Celly.
Yeah, I had it a couple of weeks ago, and we straight up didn't even do a show, so that knocked me on my butt too. So it's hoping for good health all the way around here.
My winning streak came to an end.
It did. You had a little bit of a rough go at things on picks last week too. We'll get into that in a little bit.
That's not.
Oh yeah, you did,
you
buddy.
Didn't have to remind me. All right, that's cool.
We'll get there. But in the meantime, anybody watching, if you have a comment, a prediction, a spicy take you want to share throughout the show, let us know. We will put it up on the screen. We'll read it. We'll laugh. We'll cry. We'll throw things. It'll be great. We'll have a fun show on deck tonight. If you have anything you want to share, we are streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and on Twitter. You can give us a follow at PodSnipeCelly. There's no spacing issues there, no underscores, no numbers, just PodSnipeCelly. Give us a follow and let us know. But Joel, I want to get into things with an interesting question that you pitched this one for the show this week, and it's one that I'm very curious to get your answer on because I don't know this is something that you and I have ever really talked about before, on or off.
Not ad nauseum, no.
So what I want to ask you tonight is, who is your second team? We all know that you bleed Chicago Blackhawks. You literally wear them on your arm.
Yes, I do.
You've got the tattoo. Everybody knows you're a Hawks fan. Everybody knows I'm a Wild fan. State of hockey. I got the jersey on tonight. But we're talking second teams, and that can be a team that you like to cheer for on nights where the Hawks aren't playing, or even on the nights where they are, that you just like to see do well. So, Joel, I want to pick your brain here and let the audience get to know you a little bit. Who is your second team?
I want you to try and guess. I'll give you 2 or 3 guesses.
Boy.
Just 3 guesses, rapid fire. I won't even tell you if you're right or wrong on all 3.
Well, let's see. Boston Bruins, Vancouver Canucks, Los Angeles Kings, based on the last 10 years of Hawks. No, I'm just kidding. The look on your face was so
end the show there. I'm gonna go.
I'm sorry to everybody who is listening on Spotify and iTunes who couldn't see Joel's face in that moment. It was delightful. As for some serious, HP says, oh, hang on, let's get up there. HP says Joel's second team is the Chicago Black. Yeah, that's probably true.
It's not a bad guess.
First comment of the night goes to HP, and yeah, that's probably pretty fair.
Yeah, it's definitely not a. It's not a bad guess.
I don't know. I feel like based on how long I've known you, I feel like for one, it would have to be an Eastern Conference team because you wouldn't put a second Western Conference team in with your favorites.
Wouldn't I
don't feel like you would. You might. I could be totally off base here. I feel like you like teams that have kind of a storied history. You like the early teams, the original 6 even. So I think based on that, I'm going to go New York Rangers.
You would be wrong.
I thought with the Panarin connection there too that might have
I'm going to say they're not
helped sway
up
things
there.
a little bit, but I guess not. If not the Rangers, I'm not sure who.
Well, it's funny because you're saying, like, you're not wrong about what you're saying. Like, I do like the storied franchise. Of course, I like that stuff.
HP's getting
You know,
his guess
let,
in for the Lightning.
no, I don't necessarily hate them, but no. I guess it might surprise you based on what you think, though, and that would be the Vegas Golden Knights.
Wow. Yeah,
And not
you're
for
right.
the reasons you'd think of, like they haven't really been a bad team, like they're just a good team. It's like, why not root for them? They're good. Like, that's actually not why. But yeah, the Vegas Golden Knights I would probably pick as my like second tiered. Not like I'm not bleeding, gold or any, gold and black or anything like that. But like since like obviously the new franchise that helped. Like it's just really cool having a new franchise come into the league, and it's like, oh, that's just really cool, fun to root for them when they're not playing the Hawks, obviously, and they typically run the table with us. So, but that's as of recently. Yeah, I mean Western Conference, right? But there's always been this like family connection with my mom and I to Las Vegas. So like when they got a hockey team, I was like, you know what? There's actually some like sentimental value to the city of Las Vegas in a way, just because like my mom loves it there. We had a family trip there. We're gonna have another family trip there, and it's always just been Vegas in some way, shape, or form has always kind of been in one of the in part of the bloodstream. So as soon as they got the NHL team, I was like, well, this is perfect, and it was just a cherry on top too that they happen to be built fantastic and continue to be cup contenders every year in is this their 5th season
Yep.
already?
Number
Wow,
5, and they've been to the
that's what I
Western
thought.
Conference Finals 3 of their first 4. Or well, I
I
shouldn't say
knew,
Western Conference Finals because last year that wasn't really the case. But the semifinal round, they've been
yeah,
one of the last 4 teams standing 3 of the last 4 years.
and that's the thing. I knew it was 5, but I really had to get gut checked if it's already been 5.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of
But
a surprise. They've been around a while now.
that, and I obviously helps too. Like fan base seems like a lot of fun. Their stadium and their like pre-show, their pre-game rituals and stuff are just so cool. Stuff that's going to last a long time, and it will have a storied history, obviously, as time goes on. And not to mention their jerseys are badass. So,
They do
yeah,
have some pretty rocking jerseys.
and it's they have a lot of guys like you like to root for. Like obviously newly acquired Jack Eichel, that's easy to root for. I have loved, and you knew this, despite always having to root against him because he always wore the blue note. I love Alex Petrangelo, and I have always loved Alex Petrangelo.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously for fantasy purposes, Jonathan Marchessault, love that guy. William Karlsson as well. Mark Stone. So
Chandler Stevenson has been keeping me near the top of the leaderboard in like all of my fantasy leagues this year.
Right, exactly. And also, I know he was only here for half a season, but the Blackhawks tie with Robin Lehner there. Robin Lehner is just an amazing human being, let alone goalie. So, yeah, that is my
nice
second
to
team.
see him and Flower, exchanging pleasantries the other night
was so
in the
cool.
pregame, warming up at center ice and saying hello.
It floored me that we actually won.
Yeah,
I didn't expect that one. Did not expect that one. I also didn't expect to have a lead and go to overtime with the Avalanche either, though. So, but yeah, I thought we had discussed that before, but I guess not.
Yeah, not recently enough that. I mean, I think the last time we had that conversation, Vegas didn't exist, so it's been a while since we.
I know I can guess yours.
Do you though?
I do. Very confidently.
Are you sure about that?
Yes.
Are you sure about that?
Very confidently. I would bet money on it right now, live in front of the 10 or less people that are watching. I'll Venmo you $10 if I'm wrong.
Set them up. Let's play.
New York Islanders.
Here's the thing. You're not right, but you're not wrong.
What do you mean I'm not right?
So let me explain
I have a
some
text
things here.
saying that they're your second team.
Let me explain some things here. So, as a kid growing up, you want to be like the important people in your life. And I wanted to be like my dad, who, um, when he was a hockey fan, he was a New York Islanders fan. And when the North Stars left Minnesota, which where I'm from and where I grew up, my dad, being a band director, took a liking to the Blues just because of the logo, loves the note. So those kind of were the teams that we liked. And then the Wild came, and it was great. We finally had a hometown team again. But I still like the Blues, and I still like the Islanders. And then they restructured things and put the Blues and the Wild in the same division. So naturally couldn't cheer for the Blues anymore. So the Islanders kind of defaulted to my favorite team. However, now that I'm in Ohio and I get to see quite a bit more Blue Jackets hockey, the expansion
Wow.
bros with the Wild, and getting to go to, believe it or not, a Blue Jackets Islanders game coming up in March. That is the Christmas present that my fiance got me. So we're 3 rows off the glass
Oh
for
my
a Blue Jackets
gosh.
Islanders game. So I get to watch that close to the ice. I mean, that's going to be incredible. So I've kind of taken a liking to the Blue Jackets. I like a lot of the prospects that they have in the system.
You're welcome.
When the Blackhawks drafted Adam Boquist, and I told you right away, like, he's going to be very, very good for a very long time. And sorry to bring up that sore spot, but I mean, he is, and he's going to be very good. I
I know he
love
is.
Patrick Laine. I am hoping that he continues to do good things in Columbus. He seems much more himself this season, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Watching Voracek play in his 1000th game the other night, uh,
Elvis.
hitting the milestone there, Elvis. There's a lot to like about the Columbus Blue Jackets, and I've kind of taken them on more recently as my second team. So I'm not going to say you're wrong for the Islanders, but it's not as accurate as it could be.
I'm still not
Because
Venmoing you $10
yeah,
back
you
here.
don't have to. You don't have to. That's fine. But that's kind of where things are at. Is I find that I like players. I like uh, the way that teams play and the things that they do, and that lets me like more of the game as a whole. So even though I would say probably Islanders and Blue Jackets 2A, 2B for who's my second team, I mean, Washington Capitals. I love them. That's my fiance's hometown team. I
Right.
love Alex Ovechkin. Always fun to watch him play. Always enjoy watching the Lightning for the many, many things that they do well. I like watching the Anaheim Ducks and seeing what Trevor Zegras is able to do, and watching John Gibson in that. I do not like the Colorado Avalanche, but they are a fun team to watch.
I was gonna say I
You
could
know, that's
definitely put the Avalanche up there for
so
me in some sense.
while I don't like them per se, I respect them. And like, holy crap, Nathan McKinnon, Kale McCarr, Landeskog, Rantanen, and all these guys, they're
They're
so
just
good at hockey. Like,
they're
it's
fun to
insane.
watch.
And it's fun as a fan to watch. But yeah, I'd say those are probably my second teams, if you want to call it that,
Surprised we
would
didn't
be
throw Edmonton up there. I would throw Edmonton up there just because you said you like players. Like I love Connor
yes.
McDavid and
If
Leon Draisaitl.
if
So
you don't like McDavid and Drysaitel, there's something inherently wrong with you as a hockey fan. I mean, don't call yourself a hockey fan if you don't like those two and what they do on the ice, because it's fun. It's good for the game.
even for the bitter rivals of Edmonton, right? Like
Yeah.
even me, you know me and how my total utter pure blooded hatred for the Blues.
Hmm.
But I still love Vladimir Tarasenko.
You loved him. You loved
I
TJ
love
Oshie
TJ
when he
Oshie.
was with the Blues. You love
Still love TJ
Tarasenko.
Oshie.
Right? You can find players to like and respect because of how good they are, that go beyond the rivalries, that go beyond any sort of teams that you like or don't like. I think that's very fair to say. I loved Boquist when he was with the Hawks, and it's much easier to cheer for him now that he's not. But you find those guys you like,
Maybe we find
that
a way
keep
to
things
trade for him
interesting.
back.
And what was that?
Said maybe we find a way to trade for him back.
That would be a
I like to
very
dream.
interesting
I like to dream.
development. We'll get right on that. Maybe Seth. No, I'm just kidding.
He's
reverse,
been good, but we still
reverse
lost
the trade.
we still lost the trade, but Seth Jones has at least been a star, so I'm fine with it for now.
Mm. Well, Joel, I know that with the Hawks kind of not quite living up to the expectations that you had in mind at the beginning of the season of making the playoffs, they're kind of looking a little more down the road to the draft. And with the trade of a first round pick to the Blue Jackets in the aforementioned Jones deal, the Hawks are going to kind of need to get creative at the draft with how they're going to move back up into the first round.
Correct.
You almost wonder if some of the pieces that they move at the deadline might try to be to get a first round pick and see what you can do. Maybe take on some extra cap in part of a deal, kind of like what we saw Columbus do last year, where through a series of trades, they retained 50% of the contract, got a first round pick, got a third team involved to retain another 25%. And then, like Tampa Bay with David Savard, only paying a quarter of his contract in some brilliant cap movement. Chicago might be doing that as well. And you have a couple of prospects that you want to talk about. I've got two that I want to talk about. But I want to give you the floor here with a couple of prospects that you've got your eye on in a bit of a midseason prospect report.
Yeah, and I mean, it's no secret that I think you study this side of the game way more than I do. But you did give me some homework. I did have to at least look up two that would stand out. It's hard to, I mean, because you're right. You kind of brought the history there. It's hard to really motivate at least myself to really dive deep into the prospect pool, especially this year when we don't have a first round pick for the next, like, I think it's 2 years. Yeah, because we gave up this year's
Yep.
and next year's.
Yep.
So it's kind of one of those things where you almost feel defeated, like, well, we pissed away 2 first round picks now, on Seth Jones, who, again, like, I like him. He's been great so far, but it's not going to be worth it in the long run. Like, so, but yeah, I did look up a couple of the upcoming prospects in this year's draft, and I think the two that stood out to me, Connor Geeky was one, and then Logan Cooley was another one. And I know both centers, right? We need defense, but I went with both centers.
It's hard not to want center depth. Like, you have to have good center depth in this league.
Exactly. And and with us too, like, we had center depth. We kind of do. Taves is back to doing Taves things, and Doc will get there. I mean, he's already decent at the dot, but he will get better. And we do need a little more depth there, as we usually do. But I guess you can never have too many centers. I've learned that from watching 3 Stanley Cup runs. You can never have too many centers. Young, old, whatever. But yeah, I mean, so Logan Cooley, I looked him up. He's actually kind of fun. I mean, if I don't watch much college sports in general, football, hockey, whatever, but if I had to pick, like, if I had to do like 3 colleges where it's like I'm actually going to have a rooting interest in that college sport, Notre Dame is one of the teams that I would definitely pick because of my uncle, who loved them. But Logan Cooley's at Notre Dame right now. I don't think they've played yet, though, because I'm assuming.
Well, he's still with the development team for now, but he's
going to be back.
He's committed to Notre Dame for next year.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, and exactly that too. Like, he's going to be. He was one of, I think, 4 players to get recruited to the USA World Juniors, so he'll be playing in that.
Yeah, so he was going to be on the World Juniors team before they had to shut things down there.
Yeah.
But in the one World Juniors game he picked up an assist, which is always a good sign to see.
Yeah. So he's and he's a US born player. That I love. Like, obviously we're talking about he's going to play for Team USA in the World Juniors, but like, it's always fun to just see US born players, like, who have that much potential. I've obviously Patrick Kane, Austin Matthews. Give me more. I don't know. Clayton Keller's from the US, right?
Yeah. Phil Kessel, Phil the Thrill.
Phil. Yeah, praise be the Phil.
Praise be the Phil.
But I did look up some scout, some super, obviously, not very good videos, but decent like highlight videos and some scouting reports too from like, NHL.com and all that. And, from what I've seen and from what obviously they've described too on their scouting reports, like I know he's got really good speed, awareness, the creativity, like that's all there. And he's kind of already shown that, he can play with the big boys. He's kind of shown that he can be pretty good and dynamic against, some of the older competition. And he's only 17 or under 17. Yeah, he's 17.
Yeah, he's 17.
Yeah. And apparently too, this was something that I found looking him up a little bit more, that on NHL's central scouting like prelim report, he's actually the only US born player with an A right now. I know it's early, but that's it's pretty cool. And I guess, he is, and again, you can never have too many centers. Now, the thing is like, well, a lot of people seem to think he is going to go in the first round. He probably will go in the first round, so there's no real way we can get him unless we can get creative. But that's a guy that would be kind of fun to see.
Right, probably a top 10, maybe top 15 pick, kind of maybe later in the.
That's what I've been reading.
Outside the top 5, but maybe in that 5 to 15 range, somewhere in there.
Exactly. And I mean, maybe if you get lucky, drop down to 20, but even still, we're not in the first round. So we would still have to figure out a way to get back into the first round to see either of these guys. But Connor Geeky, too, as a center. I mentioned in a previous show when we were talking about the Kraken, I love what I see from his brother Morgan. I haven't really paid attention much recently, but I know early on that kid's got a hell of a shot. So I'm assuming it runs in the family, but I know right now he's with the Winnipeg Ice in the WHL. He's already got 38 points on the season with them, so that's pretty decent.
More than a point per game pace.
Exactly.
In any of the.
He's got 31 penalty minutes, which is interesting. So, but and I think I know why, because a lot of the scouting reports I've read so far, and you can just see from looking at him too, like he is kind of your prototypical, big power center that a lot of NHL teams covet nowadays. So
6'4", 193, Connor Geeky.
Exactly.
That's a big kid.
That is a big boy. But again, I mean, that would be nice. That's another guy I had my eye on him because kind of like Doc. Get that big dude in front of the net, battling in front of the goalie, get there for those dirty goals, right? Get those scrappy goals, get the when the pretty ones aren't getting into the back of the net. Can never have too many big powerful centers just giving the goalie a bad time.
Yeah, I mean, Geeky, I feel like his game would allow him to pretty much play anywhere on the ice. Like you said, being that big physical presence, like right in front of the net, is going to be kind of his MO. But he can be kind of that bumper guy on the power play as well. You see a lot of teams kind of moving to that 1-3-1 power play setup. They've moved away from like the umbrella or an overload type of power play.
Yep, exactly.
A lot of them kind of setting up that 1-3-1 power play type setup, and I think he could be that type of guy. But I'm really excited to see wherever Geeky ends up. I mean, he will be, in my mind, his ceiling is no worse than being a second line, a very good second line type of center. I don't know quite that he's got that 1C upside, and scouts kind of have some mixed reviews on him with where his ceiling's really at.
Yeah.
I've seen some boards, some mock drafts that have had him as a top 5 pick. I've seen others that have had him, as a bottom 5 pick in the first round. So the scouts are kind of all over the board. And we saw that with a couple of prospects last year. Jesper Wallstedt, a good example for the Minnesota Wild, a goaltender who a lot of people thought was a top 10 pick who slid all the way down to 20. I wonder if Geeky is that player this year who has the talent, has the skill set, but takes a bit of a slide down the draft boards. His skating isn't quite where people want it to be. That's kind of the consensus that I've found, is that his skating isn't quite where people feel like it should be. But when you're that big and you're taking that big of a stride and you're able to cover that much ice, it's not so much about the speed, it's
well, and everything
it's how you're using it.
You're right. And it's funny too, because you say like it's he's kind of and I'm looking at it now, like he's kind of ranked all over the place when in regards to all these different all these different scouting websites. Like he's ranked as high as number 5, and then he's ranked, by 1, and then he's ranked as low as 21, and
Yeah.
everything in between. Whereas Logan Cooley was pretty much the lowest rank I think he had was 12, and then other than that, you see like 2, 6, 8, 5, 9. Like he's a little more consistently, like kind of the top 10, top 15, whereas Geeky's kind of all over the place.
Yeah, I think for that reason, I'm a little more sold on Logan Cooley as a top 10 pick than Connor Geeky, but those are two guys that I think could be right in the mix there as well. And another guy that I've got my eye on.
I want to hear your two.
Yes, I've got a couple of fun ones here.
Mine are generic. Yours are fun.
Well, I've had to work on the pronunciation today to make sure I try and get these guys' names right. So the first one is a defenseman, David Juricek, who is playing in Pilsen in the Czech League. So he is 17 and he is already playing hockey against professionals and people who, have 10 years or more in age on his game. And he has already looked so smart about how he plays. His positioning is phenomenal. Skating, you would like to see a little bit more speed, but the way that I look at prospects, I feel like there's always things that you can do to improve your speed at every level. And as these players are 16, 17, 18, 19, even for some of these prospects, skating is a skill that you're always working on at every single level. I mean, if you don't think that McDavid is putting in edge work drills every single day and working on his top speed and working on his edges, you'd be sorely mistaken. I mean, there are so many different things that you can work with, and skating coaches, excuse me, who can help bring that aspect of your game along. That I think so much more of it are the things like, are you positioned well? Are you moving the puck well? What is your vision like on the ice? How do you use that physical element to your game? And I think Juricek really has the potential to be the best defenseman in this class. There are, quite a few that are up at the top of the board. And right now, most that I'm seeing have him around the second or third. It seems like Simon Nemec is probably the top one that a lot of guys have. Ryan Chesley is up there as well. Salamanson from Sweden, Elias Salamanson. But I really, just watching Juricek's game, he is such a fun player to watch. Like he does so many of the little things right, and that attention to detail is going to serve him really well, I think, going forward. He's somebody that I have my eye on, and I think is probably the best defenseman in this class. And then one more guy here that I want to keep an eye on is Juraj Slavkovsky. That's another one that
I need some vodka.
Thank goodness Elite Prospects has a pronouncer button where you can listen to the players pronounce their own names. I listened to that probably 20 times so that I could learn how to say it with his inflection and such. But like Geeky, Slavkovsky is just another tank of a prospect. He's a center, 17 years old, 6'4", 225. And I mean, you wouldn't know it by hearing that he's 225. You watch him play, and he moves like he's 200 flat. I mean, he can fly around the ice. He's not necessarily a fast skater, but just the way that he moves is really efficient. Really, really good along the walls. He's going to win a lot of puck battles. Really good vision. I think his role is kind of as that power playmaker, a jumbo playmaker, kind of like a Joe Thornton type, where he's got that size element to his game, but a lot of it results in setting other players up on the ice. I don't know that he's going to be like a 40 goal scorer or anything like that. I think probably 25 goals, but you're looking maybe 60 assists, maybe more from his game. Somebody who's got a solid two-way game as well. and just a fun player to watch. I mean, all four of these guys, like, go look up their highlights on YouTube after the show. They're all fun players to watch. They're all going to be good and steady NHLers. But Slavkovsky in particular, like, I am hoping that the Wild can do something to trade up and get him. I think he could be, especially alongside Marco Rossi, who they took ninth overall 2 years ago and just made his NHL debut. I think Slavkovsky is just a prototypical, like, he is what you want in a number one center. He has good offense to his game. He has good defense to his game. He wins those puck battles really, really good along the wall and in front of the net. And Slavkovsky, like, whatever team gets Slavkovsky is going to be very, very happy that they did. He's another guy as well. I'm looking at one right now that has him at number 2. Shane Wright, kind of the consensus number 1 pick across the board. Wright being a center from Kingston. Wright's going number 1. I feel like that's kind of the case this year. Wasn't really the case last year, where we felt like there were a couple of options at 1. This year, Shane Wright is the guy. But I think Slavkovsky is a very, very good number 2 on that list. I think he really could go second overall. Scouts are going to see that size and go, that's exactly what we need. And he checks so many boxes. I think he is the guy that really probably should go second overall in this draft behind Wright. So that's it for our prospect report. We might do a couple more of those throughout the season.
Yeah, maybe when I have more hope that I can draft one of these guys.
Yeah, we'll see. Once we get around the trade deadline and we know kind of where some of those picks are going to fall, that'll definitely play a bit of a factor there. But with that, let's move into Wednesday night picks. We mentioned you had kind of a rough go of things last week. You got Colorado at it was Colorado -1.5, and they ended up winning by 6. It was a 7-1 game.
7-1 game.
Yeah, so that was a big win, but the other two not so much. I hit all 3, so that moves me up to 15-9 on the standings on the season.
I was off a week. Back off.
You were off a week, but I mean, I'm just saying that's where we're at right now. I got you on wins and points, so we'll see if I ever take a week off of making picks. We have you and a guest on or something. Maybe we'll figure things out there. But I want to start with not only are we going to talk about a Wednesday night pick for tomorrow, but something where we had some timely news today. The Boston Bruins have signed goaltender Tuukka Rask. Tuukka is back in Boston.
Tuukka.
Another player that I love, even though I don't like the team that he's on. I love watching Tuukka Rask.
He's also just like such a funny dude too in interviews.
Oh, he's hilarious. And I mean, he's an animated player. Like, he's had some meltdowns on the ice that have been pretty entertaining to watch.
That was early in his career.
That was early. He's kind of mellowed out a little bit, but he's still a fun player to watch. He's still animated and really just a fun goalie. But moving into the picks, we have the Montreal Canadiens +1.5 goals at +115. They're that bad. Even if you take them at +1.5 goals, you're getting plus money on them. At the Boston Bruins -1.5. Joel, does Boston win in Tuukka's return? Does Tuukka play tomorrow? Let's start with that.
That's actually a good question, because they did just sign him today, but he's been getting back into kind of ice shape.
Yeah, he was on his like a PTO deal. They call it professional tryout with the Providence Bruins and got some ice time in there. He's been their emergency backup.
That's the tough question. Yeah, like I feel like that actually, no, that really doesn't change too much of my pick. I think he plays. I don't know if it's too soon. I mean, even though the media reported it and everything like that, we don't really know how long he's been getting back into on ice shape. So maybe he's been doing it for longer. I think he plays. They wouldn't announce it and then just be like, let's build up all this hype, only to be like, he's not playing yet though. Sorry. Gotcha.
Well, I feel like there are a few better circumstances for him to come back than playing at home against Montreal. Rivalry game, plus Montreal is terrible this year.
Yeah,
You
so
know,
it's a
they're
perfect
not going. They're more likely to get a top 5 pick than they are to make the playoffs.
it's perfect
You
for
know,
him to get some live action
right?
against Montreal, who sucks. So
Believe it or not, Montreal is 1 point ahead of the Arizona Coyotes. That's it.
which means they're 1
As
point ahead
bad
of.
as Arizona's been, Montreal's 1 point ahead.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. They take well. I do know what happened. Carey Price isn't there for one, but
That's a big drop off in talent.
that's a
In that.
huge. That's a
No
huge.
shade to Jake Allen, but
No,
that's a
but
drop off.
you know, yeah. I mean, I think he plays, but I don't think it really changes my mind. Regardless, I'm definitely going with the Bruins on this one. If I'm wrong on this, then I deserve to go 0-3. But yeah, that easily the Bruins win by 2 goals. And especially if Tuukka's back, I was about to say too, like it's easy. If Tuukka comes back, come on, they're gonna be so pumped to play for him.
And then the question too is, now that he's signed with Boston, they're going to have to move Ullmark or Swayman. You're not going to carry 3 goalies. Swayman doesn't have to go through waivers, so him moving down would make sense for this year,
But I think
or
they
even to
like
the
him.
taxi squad for now.
But I think
Once
they
Tuukka's
like him
ready
a
to
lot.
go,
I think they really, from what I've heard and seen, I think they like him a lot. Swayman, I
Ullmark
think. Oh, I
could
know
turn
he's
into a
good.
trade piece then.
Exactly. I've from what I've heard from. I mean, we know a buddy who obsesses over the Bruins, and
Mhm.
based on tweets he either shares or just some things I've read, like I know they really like Swayman. So yeah, I could see Allmark maybe being a trade piece.
I think if they can figure out a way to trade Ullmark for a second line center to kind of fill that void that when David Krejci left, somebody who can really lock down that second line center role. Boston has a very good team that has kind of underperformed. That could be the spark that they need as well.
This actually reminds me. I've locked in my pick. It's easily the Bruins.
Mhm.
But that talking about the Bruins, it does remind me. Well, we got plenty of time.
Yeah, we got time.
The Bruins reminded me that there's actually I have a source now. I can't say who. I just apparently I have a friend who
Are you going to drop inside
I
information on the show?
I might
Look at
be.
this guy.
I have a friend who claims to have to know an insider somewhere around the league. I don't know how often he talks to him. I don't know if he listens to the show either, but I mean no offense by this. I don't I'm gonna you can take this with a grain of salt. I don't know. But
Mhm.
he wouldn't make I don't think he would literally randomly just contact me and be like, "Hey,
We can do some
this."
reckless speculation on this show.
So I was
We got a
told
platform here. Let's do it.
it hasn't happened, and it was supposed to get announced. So that's why I don't know if maybe things fell through, or maybe it wasn't. He didn't get as good of information as he thought. But I have heard that there is a trade being talked about between my Blackhawks and the Bruins to the tune of Dylan Strome for Jake DeBrusk.
Interesting.
I know that was. I know we've been shopping. I mean, we were shopping Strome even before Bowman got his ass canned,
Mhm.
rightfully so. But I think Colleton probably had his hands in that one too. And I know Derek King has worked a lot with Strome to try and keep him in the lineup. He's been doing well. He does fine. He plays well. He's got great chemistry, obviously, with his best friend Alex DeBrincat, and he's got
Mhm.
great chemistry with Kane too. But I I don't know. I DeBrusk is good. He's young. He's 25. I know uh, Strome is 24, I think 25. So same age thing.
Keep vamping. I'll look it up.
Yeah, I feel like they're the same age, but skill
Strome
wise, like
24. He'll turn 25 in March, right before the trade deadline.
okay, so virtually the same age. And they've been trying to move him. I've been on the fence. I've been kind of like back and forth, literally just
Mhm.
perfectly balanced as all things should be. I have I'm kind of like yeah, trade him.
Mhm.
Then the next day I'm like well hold on, like maybe let's keep him. Like he's got good chemistry. Yeah, he's good kid, good player. Like, but I don't know. And it hasn't happened. It hasn't gotten announced. That supposedly was supposed to get announced at 4 p.m. the day he told me. And it didn't happen. So I don't know.
It's inevitable. I had to do it. You made the joke.
I
You
got
set
the
it up for
Spider-Man
me.
shirt on. We got to make
Yep.
Marvel jokes.
Had to do it. I'm getting my pick in here too, and it's if Tuukka Rask doesn't play, I've got Boston winning by 2. If Tuukka Rask plays, I've got Boston winning 7-0. Blow Montreal out of the water. That place is going to be so loud if Tuukka is back. You'll hear Tuuk the entire game. Like people are going to be so happy that he is back in Boston. A lot of he's kind of had some mixed reviews over the last couple of years among Boston fans, but I think
I never
after
understood
seeing the
that
other
one.
side of the coin, they are going to be so happy that he's back, and that's going to be a rowdy crowd tomorrow night if Tuukka Rask is in net. I would have to think that they're going to win. I would think they would win big. They would feed off that crowd energy. They'd feed off of Tuukka being back. Give me Boston, and I would even take Boston minus 2.5 straight up. And if Rask is in net, give me Boston maybe minus 3.5 and see what kind of money I could get. Second pick of the night, the Seattle Kraken plus 1.5 goals at minus 150 at the Dallas Stars minus 1.5 goals at plus 130. The Dallas Stars 4-6-0 in their last 10, but they're wait, let me look at the right line here. 4-6-0. They lost on a 1-game losing streak, 13-3-1 at home against
That's
the
huge.
Seattle Kraken, 4-9-2 on the road, 1-7-2 in their last 10, and on a 6-game losing streak. Somebody's losing streak has got to go here, Joel. Who is going to snap out of it?
Dallas, easily. The Kraken are bad. I know you were high on them.
I was,
thinking
and
they could
me and
make
a lot
the
of people.
second or third seed this year. Like, and I get it. A lot of people were high on them. They thought that the Vegas effect would find its way to over in the Pacific Northwest, but it
I think
just has
beyond
not
that
been there.
too, it was thinking that guys like Jordan Eberle were going to continue to be like that. Eberle was going to step into a star type of role, and he's
Yep.
still a good player, but he's not, your first line star and your predominant scoring option. People thought Alex Wenberg might take a step forward, and that hasn't quite been the case. People thought Jared McCann might maybe slide into that, top 6 forward role, and he kind of started out hot, but trailed off pretty quick.
Morgan Geeky's been decent.
Man, has Grubauer been bad in net? I mean, that's the biggest problem with Seattle right now is how bad Grubauer has been, and
that's been huge.
I completely bought in on him.
That was one of the reasons I thought
3 fantasy leagues.
Yeah, well, that was one of the reasons I actually kind of not jumped on the bandwagon, but kind of why I believe that they could be halfway decent because they like Grubauer back there. I was like, okay, like he's going to build on his last season he had in Colorado. Granted, that defense score is literally night and
That
day.
defense made him look really good.
Yeah, apparently way better than we thought too. So I just, but this is easy. Dallas just recently. I thought they just recently won, but no, I guess they are on a 3-game losing streak. But yeah, no, Dallas easily. I think Dallas handily beats them by 2 goals. I don't know if I'm going to sit here and say 7-1 or anything crazy huge, but I could definitely see like a 4-2, 5-2 win by Dallas here.
We're going to sidebar for a moment because I just went to go look up injury reports here, and I'm seeing Seth Jones has been placed in COVID protocol. So I don't know if you were aware of that one, but Seth Jones in COVID protocol. So
why was I not informed?
Not great for Chicago. So that's potentially some new information there.
I didn't get anything on that.
Yeah, that's the report that I am looking at. Says
that?
Seth Jones, Charlie with NBC Sports Chicago. I'm not going to
Charlie Roumeliotis.
Yep, that guy.
Love Charlie Roumeliotis. So that's obviously
that's who reported it. So I mean, you would know better than I would since it's NBC Sports Chicago, but that's
that must have happened before puck drop tonight against the Blue Jackets. They're going into the third period right now, so that's
probably so. Jake McCabe also in COVID protocol for Mark Lazarus.
That's
Ugh.
that's
Let's
totally
not
fine.
say that's
That's
fine when it's COVID. I understand you don't want them
oh
in the
no no no
lineup,
no
but
no not well. COVID protocol doesn't necessarily mean they tested positive.
it's still, I'd rather not take any chances not knowing
No
either way.
no no
So
no no. I'm not saying it's fine that he has COVID. I'm saying the words Jake McCabe out of the lineup are a
that
very much
okay, there
okay
you
thing.
go. There you go. There's your redemption on it. So um yeah, I with this game tomorrow, you know what? I'm going to take Seattle to be different here. Seattle plus 1.5. They have been bad for so long, but I feel like Dallas just offensively. I don't know that Dallas can do enough to win that game by 2. Looking at Dallas this season, they're not a team that has really, blown you out of the water with their scoring. They're at 2.81 goals per game. They're tied for 20th in the league, um, giving up 2.91. So they're slightly giving up more than they're scoring.
Yeah.
Seattle, not necessarily in a great spot either, but I don't feel like Dallas has the firepower right now, the way that they've been playing, uh, to win this game by 2. HP jumping in here with the FNG. We know what that means. Go Kraken as well. Love it. And anybody but Dallas. That's how HP feels. Um, yeah, HP and I are on the same boat here. Let's go Kraken, even if only to be different on my end. Just get another pick in. But I'm going to take Seattle, ride with them, see what happens. And then our final pick of the
Why doesn't
night.
HP hold on? Why doesn't HP like Dallas? I mean, doesn't he love those amazing original North Star jerseys that they came up with? Everyone needs to see the lovely sarcastic smirk I have
You're
right now.
about to get so many middle finger emojis texted to you from HP.
I mean, I'm just saying. I think Dallas was very creative. Those the North Star jerseys, right? I'm very creative that they came up with that idea.
Do you want to get striked? I will strike you.
For anyone not watching and seeing I'm being sarcastic, I obviously know the Minnesota
I'm
North
not going to
Stars
put it up
moved
on the
to
screen
Dallas.
here, but HP just sent a Facebook comment with about 20 middle finger emojis, and I'm not going to put it on the
Put it
screen,
up.
but you can go look after the show. It's there. But final pick of the night: Toronto Maple Leafs minus 1.5 goals at the Arizona Coyotes plus 1.5 goals. Even money on Arizona.
Oh, this is easy.
Does Arizona have any chance at covering in this game?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, we
no.
won't spend a whole lot of time on this one, but
And I
yeah,
can't laugh. I'm gonna take this joke out of everyone's mouth that obviously Arizona beat us. What it was 5-2 or whatever, which was horrendous.
mhm.
But that's us. We're not good. Toronto is very good. So yeah, this is easy. Come on, Maple Leafs all the way.
Yeah. I was gonna try and take a look here and see if I could find maybe some alternate lines for this game to see like what, because it's still Toronto minus 1.5 goals at minus 120. Looking these up on DraftKings.
I don't know,
I'll
man.
check in on FanDuel as well and see if there's anything there. We're not tied to either sports book, but if either one of them happens to be paying attention to the show tonight, we would certainly love to have an exclusive sportsbook sponsor on the show where we only list odds from that site. Nothing on FanDuel here, so yeah, no alternate lines that we can look at. Still a little early for that. Joey
No
with
shot, Joey.
with no shot for
You know what?
the
I know
Coyotes to
what
cover.
I like what he's doing there too. Shout out to or one of the guys, one of the Chicago radio guys we listen to here, David Kaplan. He shot or no shot. Maybe David
Yeah,
Kaplan will
he's
listen one
saying
day.
no shot.
No shot. He
You
did
know
true.
what?
No shot. No shot whatsoever. Oh man, are you going to be different? I mean, you might as well. These 3 picks this week. If I'm wrong on any of these 3, I'm just going to be like, well, I'm going to feel like that dog sitting in the house on fire. Like this is fine because there's no way. Well, okay, I take it back. The only one I could see maybe being wrong about, and I would understand, would be the Kraken and Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that, maybe. But the first one and this one, no. Come on.
Part of me really wants to take Arizona just because I feel like this is the type of game that Toronto would find a way. Toronto finds ways to lose weird games. And like I'm looking at the injury report for Arizona, and a lot of guys in COVID protocol. Chikrin out with an upper body injury. Scott Wedgwood COVID protocol. Hayton, Strawman, Beagle, Dzingel, all these guys that are all out of the lineup. And yet part of me still wants to take Arizona. Like, I feel like there has to be a reason that the odds are this close. There has to be some reasoning that even at -1.5 that it's that close. I'm going to take Arizona to cover. I can't believe I said those words on this show to take Arizona to cover against Toronto. I'm probably going to end up regretting this.
That still means you win if they lose. Just
if Arizona loses by 1 goal, this pick still wins.
I guess I can't be as confident about that one. I know they're going to lose.
If
the Coyotes win flat out, I quit.
Moneyline comparison: Toronto Maple Leafs -300, Arizona Coyotes +250. That's where the money line is at right now. But when you move it down to that puck line and it gets down to -120, there's gotta be something there. Joe, even if there's a cover late in that game, the empty netter kills it. I mean, I agree, and I've lost picks in this game before where I've taken the underdog and lost on the empty net goal for a bad beat.
You're making me second guess myself right now, but I
cannot do that.
No, I cannot do that because every time I go with one of those where it's like it's about 80% obvious, and I'm like, you know what? No, today's going to be the day that it's not obvious. I get burned. I can't do it.
So to recap, Joel is going with the Toronto Maple Leafs. I am going with the Arizona Coyotes +1.5. Joel is taking the Dallas Stars. I'm taking the Seattle Kraken. And then we are both in on Boston to win tomorrow night. Those are our Wednesday night picks. Now, Joel, you came up with a new segment. You had something that you wanted to do here before we got to 2 minutes for roughing that we didn't even get to tease. I didn't know you were going to do this until about 30 seconds before we were going to roll the show.
It's something
you want to introduce this segment here?
Yeah, it's just something I'd like to maybe start doing in the weeks to come a little more. This one, not really prepared. I just gave you the idea. But, I mean, and plenty of guys, plenty of places, plenty of shows do this. I just kind of want to play a little game of Would You Rather. We can name it something at some point. We don't have to name it Would You Rather.
Call it Would You Rather for now.
I mean, sure. I
for
know
now, for the first
it's not patented. I just don't want to feel like I'm stealing it.
Yeah, fair enough.
But, I think the way this will work, it'll be much better in the coming weeks when we do it, where we can kind of have a few or a couple prepared for each other, and we kind of choose back and forth and back and forth.
Put it on Twitter. We'll let the people speak.
Exactly. That's what I want this ultimate. Right, that's where I want this ultimately to go. I want the people that are watching, HP, Joey, your brother that usually pops in, and whoever else is watching that usually doesn't comment but is awesome enough to watch in or listen, live. Tweet at us. Or I mean, even if you have Dan's number or my number, you can text us. That's fine too, as long as we get some participation. But I have two. One of them's not hockey related, just because it's fun. But
let's start with the non-hockey related one, just to segue, and then jump back into hockey. We'll do that.
HP is going to give me some middle fingers, I think. But
oh boy,
Joey's going to love this one if he's still watching. Would you rather have Kirk Cousins or Justin Fields?
Is it for next season alone or for the rest of their careers?
The rest of their careers.
Fields, no question.
Okay, cool. I actually thought for some reason you might say yes. Okay, good. I thought you might say Cousins for some reason, but I don't know why. I don't know why I thought you would, but I don't know. I had to try
chance of that.
I had to try and poke the bear a little. Okay, smart decision.
Nope, we'll make that quick and easy. Next question.
Okay. I did have one prepared, and since we don't have much time, that's good that I only have one prepared. We'll start this sooner in
Hang
coming
on,
weeks.
before we do that, we're going to pop up a couple more
Attaboy,
comments here.
HP.
HP Fields, no doubt. Joey Fields, yeah.
Justin Fields all day, QB1.
That's a no-brainer.
I don't think he'll ever watch this show, but just know, we love you, Fields. We support you here in Chicago.
There were a lot of Vikings fans who wanted the Vikings to hold their ground or move up when they saw that Fields didn't go
dropping
top 5 and was sliding down the board. There were a lot of Vikings fans that wanted them to trade up and
he's the one piece of hope that we have here in Chicago. That's it. That's all we got. Anyway, the other thing that might take you a little longer to answer, that's why it's a good thing it's only one question. Would you rather go the next, let's call it 5 seasons, not knowing if the Wild are going to win the Stanley Cup? Or would you rather trade away Kirill the Thrill, but know you are guaranteed to win 1 Stanley Cup in the next 3 years?
That's a good question. That is a tough question. I think, oh boy. Give me the guaranteed cup. This is tough, but
I'm not going to
it's
act like my mind is blown, but still, that was quicker than I thought you'd answer.
I just want to see one of my Minnesota sports teams win in my lifetime. I was born the year after the Twins won the 1991 World Series. I was born in 92. I have not seen the Twins make it to a World Series. Their last playoff game win, I was in middle school. They've got like an 18-game playoff losing streak.
Yeah, that's
the Timberwolves have made the playoffs once since I was in middle school. They're not going to do that anytime soon. Mm-hmm. The Vikings, you got a couple of NFC Championship game appearances, but came up short. 99, 17, 18.
We could argue about this, though. You still have that's still better traction than the Bears, but anyway.
That's an argument for another time.
Yes.
HP saying exactly right. I do not need to be thinking this hard on a Tuesday.
I'm glad this worked. I came up with that about 10 minutes ago, so I'm glad that one worked.
Yeah, I give me the guaranteed cup. I would feel awful about trading Kaprizov. I have been so hyped for him to get to Minnesota, and he has changed the Wild team for the foreseeable future. I mean, this is a fun team. This is not Jacques Lemaire. We're going to grind it down and beat you 2-1 with running the trap and maybe getting a breakaway goal from Marian Gaborik on a counterattack to win a game. It's not that type of hockey anymore.
You've seen what it takes to win Stanley Cups. You basically have to, quote unquote, the proverbial sell your soul in some way. And selling your soul in your case would be getting rid of Kaprizov.
That would be the case, but also Kirill Kaprizov is the best player on this roster. If they are going to win a cup in the next 5 years, I don't see how they do it without Kaprizov. Moving Kaprizov would require it would require multiple years of first round picks at this point. It would be at least 3 years, and you would be it would be a giant middle finger to the fan base to have waited this long for a star, get him for a year and a half, and then he's gone. I understand you can't guarantee anything, especially in sports. But if in this hypothetical scenario, that's what it took to win a cup was trading Kaprizov, yeah, do it and take your win. That's how I feel about it. Okay. I'm going to flip the script hard on you. You made me think that hard. You made HP think that hard on a Tuesday night. I am going to come at it next week and hit some hard-hitting would you rathers.
We'll make the guarantee to everyone right now, all the viewers right now, that we will give each other 2 of these each next week. However, I would like for one of them from each of us to be from the viewers / listeners.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do on that. I like that take. HP, chiming in. I'm with Dan. Give me the cup. Although I have a lot of faith in Billy G and Dino and the prospects we have to get it done. Wild have a really good prospect system going right now.
You guys are
Joey
as
the same
primed as
way.
you've ever been. Get
the championship. Yeah,
it's true. I mean, it is so true. Like, I mean, after 2010, you saw how well, no, you didn't. You didn't know me, but you could have seen all of us in Chicago how angry we were to see guys like Bufflin, Versteeg all in their prime go. Niemi, and we were like, what the hell is going on? Like, you just sold off half the team that was arguably one of the best teams in decades, or deepest too. And it was to ensure more championships, and it worked. So
yeah, that was really an impressive way that the Hawks constructed things to be able to sustain winning in the salary cap era. It really was. And anybody who tells you otherwise is lying to you.
It's the one piece of credit I'll give to Stan Bowman was some of the depth that he was able to maneuver with. That's it, though. That's all I'll give.
It is just about time to close out the show here. There you go. We're breaking a score in real time here.
3-1 on the Blue Jackets right now. Here we go.
Peachy. All right. So, as we always like to do, we are going to close out the show with 2 minutes for roughing. Joel, you took things last week. I'm going to take control this week. Would you be so kind as to put 2 minutes up on the clock there for me?
Yes, sir. 1 second. All righty. Are you ready?
Yes, sir. I've had my water. We are good to go.
All right. In 3, 2, let's go.
All right. As we know, the NHL has a lot of awards that it hands out at the end of the season. And some people think that there are too many awards in the NHL. I am not one of those people. And in fact, I think there is one more award that we need to create. We currently have an award, the Selke Trophy, which is given to the best defensive forward in the NHL. It is one that is regularly won by Patrice Bergeron of the Boston Bruins. I mean, he's so good defensively, as good a two-way center as you could look for. Sets the standard. But I think what we need to come up with is the Bobby Orr Offensive Defenseman of the Year award. You could name it after him. You could name it after Ray Bourque. There's a lot of good offensive defensemen you could name it after. But the Norris Trophy that is currently given to the top defenseman in the NHL so often recently has been which defenseman put up the most points. And points, sure, they're a great offensive contribution, but you look at some of the all-around play from defensemen. I think that has to be the standard as it currently exists. And in recent years, we've kind of seen a trend more as some of the advanced analytics come into play, where defensemen are measured more on things like their ability to suppress shots, their ability to clear the zone, zone exits and zone entry denials. And those things are great. I think the Norris Trophy Award needs to be about the best overall defenseman in that aspect of the game. And I think creating an offensive defenseman award would come up with a more balanced system to award both the offensive and defensive aspects of the game. Not necessarily as rough as I would.
I was
going to
say
go.
There wasn't like anger.
There wasn't
that.
There was animosity in there.
Yeah, I agree.
I would say I'm looking at right now a list of the top scoring defensemen in the league, and it's the usual suspects that you see at the top of the. Jones is
he's
not,
3rd, 4th, 5th.
No, Jones is 11th, tied for 10th actually.
Oh, points. I'm talking assists. Never mind.
Points. Yeah, I'm talking points. Yeah.
Yeah, my bad.
So looking at the top 3 guys we'll expand to top 5. It's the suspects that you usually see at the top of the list every year.
Let me guess.
For the Norris Trophy. Yeah, go ahead and guess.
I haven't looked yet.
Okay.
So we got Victor Hedman.
Yep.
John Carlson.
Yep.
Oh, Cale McCarr.
Yep.
4 and 5 for some reason are eluding me. Hold on.
Well, McCarr is in 5th, Carlson is 4th, and Hedman's tied for 1st.
Edmonds tied for first.
Yep.
Oh man.
While you're doing that, I'm going to put Joey's comment up here. Love that award. Need to separate the two. Yeah,
No,
I think so here.
I'm with you too. Normally we like to have fun and argue on certain things, and no, I've always agreed with you on that one. Like the Norris should not be about scoring the most points, and that's literally it. The Selke is obviously how it should be graded, just defenseman. I can't think of the other two right now.
Adam Fox.
Oh, duh. Yeah. Okay.
And Roman Josi.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't have gotten Josi. I should have gotten Fox.
Josi is definitely a volume shooter. I mean, he puts up like 3 shots a game almost. I mean, he shoots the puck a lot. 12 goals on the season.
He's typically not top 5 in scoring. He's probably he's definitely one of the top 5 defensemen in the league for sure, but
right.
He's usually not up there in top 5 points, top 10 usually, yeah. But
right. This year, I think we're seeing a lot more of the offensive side of Josi's game, and I could see him getting some Norris Trophy response to that. That the voters might give a little more because they know he's good defensively, but seeing that offensive side of his game. But again, I don't think that's the way to really evaluate this award. And I think if you're looking at guys for just purely the best all-around defenseman, offense, defense, Joey's saying the same thing here. If you have an offensive and defensive award for forwards, why not for defensemen? Yeah, that's exactly it.
I'll get the league office to tune in, right?
Yeah.
Please do, Joey. Please do.
If you have anybody at the league office who wants to tune in, that'd be huge. Get us the connection there.
Yeah, right. Get that viewership from 10 up to 100. I don't know.
I think that's something that it needs to happen and sooner rather than later here. Because we have some good defensemen who get overlooked for that type of award because the points haven't necessarily been there. I've said for a long time, over the last decade, Ryan Suter has been the best defensive defenseman in the league, but couldn't get anywhere near a Norris because he didn't have the points.
If it was scored the way it truly should be, just like Joey mentioned and just like you're mentioning, then pretty much all throughout from 2000, let's call it 2008 to 2016, Duncan Keith should have easily been a Norris Trophy finalist or winner every year of that, and Ryan Suter would be right there with him at least for half of those.
Yeah, those two will be up there on the list. And I'm not trying to take anything away from Hedman. I do think Hedman is the best all-around defenseman in the game right now. Yeah. And I he would have my vote for Norris if we were to put that vote up today.
He just happens to also score a crap ton too.
But seeing some of these guys that have been thrown into that conversation in recent years, a guy like Quinn Hughes, who last year was
you took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah,
I was going to say
not a good defenseman necessarily, but put up a ton of points and got some extra buoyancy in his argument. I hope that's the route that the league chooses to go here in coming years. And I hope they come up with that award pretty soon here. Having it named after Bobby Orr or Ray Bourque, who really are probably the two best offensive defensemen of all time. Either of those guys would make a ton of sense.
After 22 years.
That call still gives me the chills. Like, it gives me goosebumps. That was such a great call. I remember, I couldn't fall asleep that night. I didn't even know the Cup final was going on, really. I was still very early in following hockey. And I walked out into the kitchen and had seen that the Avalanche had won the Cup. And my dad called me over to watch that. He's like, "This is going to be really cool. Just watch this and listen." And that was like, holy crap. Like, I want to say something that cool someday as a hockey broadcaster. Like, that would be so cool.
That's so cool.
I'm gonna go watch that after the show tonight, but I think that's probably a good place to wrap things up here. Thank you to everybody for tuning in tonight. This has been episode 11 of Pod Snipe Celly, brought to you by Nuke Sports and the Sports 2.0 Network. Thank you to HP and Joey commenting throughout the show. As always, anytime that you want to tune in live, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter every single time that we do this. We also air on demand on iTunes and Spotify, so you can really listen to this episode, any past episodes as well if you want to go back. Plus, YouTube has all of the streams still there as well, so you can watch us on YouTube and tune in that way as well. That is it for tonight's episode. For Joel Fernino, my name is Dan Bradley. Enjoy the rest of your night, everybody.
Sayonara.